Okay, guys, thank you so much for attending this session, and I welcome you all to a small introduction to shipping. Basically, I've just put up some slides, and mostly I'll be talking based on the slides, and I may not be going point by point as per the slides. So, whenever you feel anything you want me to go a little deeper, you can always stop me and ask me to go deeper so that I can explain to you where because I'll just run through and what slides are prepared and where I feel you should know because the what is your job profile is what you're looking for seafarers, what is the industry, how does the ship work, and all those things. I might go a little deep so that you understand while speaking to the seafarers, or you know what you need to ask, what kind of jobs they are actually required to do in the office. So in those areas, I might go a little deep. Otherwise, I'll just browse through fast. So anywhere you feel you need to ask me something, you can also stop me. Yeah. So let's go. Okay, table of contents. What I'm going to discuss here. We will have why is maritime. What is the place of maritime? Why we need the maritime industry. Okay, and what are the parts of the industry we will cover a little bit, and we will see what is our, because we are all going to recruit for the Indian subcontinent per se. So we will have a little. I'll just have one slide on what are the major ports in India, so that you will know what is the maritime opportunities in India. Then where I'll talk about vessels, what kind of vessels you need to know. We will have a small slide on what is the organization of the ship, and I will have I have actually made a video specially for the ship management organization ashore. So we will run through that video once. Yeah. So these are the main contents what we are going to see, and we will have ship management organization ashore. Okay, so there is a small victory is a beautiful bright colored flower. Transport is the stem without which it could never have blossomed, because we are all talking about transport industry. So transport is the most important thing in anything, for the trade. Earlier, when Winston Churchill told this, he mentioned about this war because he had to transport a lot of ammunition, the war people and everything. So that's why he mentioned. But in this generation, we can talk it in the base of trade, where trade is very, very important, without which you cannot, the world cannot operate. Who am I? I'm Master Marina. I started my sea career in 1995. Then I was sailing till 2006, 2007. I shifted ashore. I worked in different management companies in both manning, mostly in manning, and little part in training. I'm presently working with a ship owning organization in Mumbai, in Andheri. Yeah, I'm looking after the manning there. Okay, the introduction. Maritime industry is one of the major spokes of transportation wheel in the game to door-to-door delivery. Basically, ships are a part of, like for example, if you are ordering an item in Amazon, okay, so how does it reach you from, maybe it might be an imported thing from China. You are talking about China made, from China to how it is coming to your door. It is being stacked up by Amazon somewhere in India, which is imported from China. From China से India आता है, that is being imported through ships or maybe planes. So and those are stored in the warehouses, and from warehouses when you order it comes to your house. So basically the maritime industry is one of the major chunk or major piece of the puzzle for the door-to-door delivery for any items and everything you work or you use or anything. Some facts about ships. Rated increase in the world seaborne trade. You can see it is world seaborne trade carriers in tons, that is billions. So how many tons of cargo is going to be by 2030? They're expecting 180 billion tons are going to be transported through sea. Okay, world economy is going to go from to up to 120 trillion dollars, and world population is coming to only, it is going to be around 80 or 90 million dollars in 90 billion. Yeah, so I think trade is going to go very, very high. Seaborne trade basically. So basically we are actually transitioning from, usually we have new cargoes. We have for example, earlier we started with oats and all those bulk carriers. Then when the crude oil started, then we shifted to crude oil. Then the tanker became bigger and bigger. Then the next type of ships were gas tankers. So they were transporting gas tankers, gas in liquid form, which also started with a small size and they went up to VLGCs, very large gas carriers. Then they shifted to containers. Containers again came when they found that bulk carrier they are not able to transport it very securely. Then the container ships started. Now the different kind of ships, which are the LNG ships, which are LNG new cargo is coming. So LNG ships are gaining precedence in the market. So slowly they will also come and they will also become mainstream. Then they will have a lot of things. Some companies are even working on carbon dioxide ships. They will be loading carbon dioxide and they will be dumping to the sea because they want to make the world carbon neutral. So they will be loading carbon dioxide and loading and transporting. So shipping is completely revamped in the last maybe 50 to 60 years with so many advancements in shipping technologies and also in the shoreside in the ship management techniques. Initially, they were all proper owners only. Then they started hiring managers. Now you are talking about ship managers. No, these are all very recent advancements where owners thought, we don't want to do the management of our ships our own. Then we will hire third-party managers who will be managing our ships. So these are all around. These are all new way of operating the ships around 30, 40 years, 50 years before they have started the third-party ship management. The largest ship can carry around 18,000 containers. We have around 20,000 containers now also. Some of the ships have 20,000 containers. They can carry on. You see the container trucks on road. So those are all one container. So like that, we can carry 20,000 containers on a single ship. So that's how big the ships are nowadays for the containers. Ship engine has about 1,000 times more power than average family car. Again, this again for a normal average ship I'm talking about. This can go up to 2,000, 3,000 times also in big ships. Germany, Japan and Greece. These are the three main ship owning countries. For example, you want to see what are the major, where are the owners sitting? The ship owners bete hain, where are they sitting? So these are the three main areas where ship owners are sitting. Otherwise, everybody else is managers and you have owners all around the world. But majority of ships are owned by owners sitting in these three countries. Again, ownership is very, very vague because ownership, they don't tell you don't go and register. If my name is Vijay, I have a company called Vijay Ship Management. So all the ships are not registered on the company's name. That's a big subject in itself. How the ships are registered, what is the flag of convenience, all those things are there. So I don't think you require that. If you need, you can always ask me. I can explain what is required. Yeah. Around 1.5 million seafarers are employed by global shipping industry. So there are total, if you see world over, there are around 16 lakh. It is now presently having 17 lakh seafarers around the world. Total number of seafarers is 17 lakh around the world. Okay, 90% of the world's commodities are carried by international shipping industry. I think this you might have heard. Anything bulk you want to transport, the ship is the most economical mode of transport for any bulk shipping. If all the containers from 11,000 TEU, that is 20 foot equivalent unit, there are two types of containers, 20 foot and 40 feet. So you can see small and bigger containers. So those are the 20 feet and 40 feet. These are standard ship size. So loaded onto a train, it will need 44 miles or 77 kilometers long. So if you see, now I told 20,000, so you can imagine how long the train is going to be. So that's the amount of that to give the size of the ship, which you can imagine how much cargoes we are trying to carry. Around 33% of ship crew still don't have means of communication. That is, presently it is increasing. We are having satellite communication on board, but it is not pretty cheap as what we have at home. It is expensive, and around only 10 to 20% have internet access. Everybody doesn't have like what you can browse the Google and you can search anything and everything on the ship. It is still very few, even though all the ships are getting, standard managers, standard owners have There is something called VSAT, or the satellite communication on board, which allows browsing the internet. But all the shipping companies still don't have the full-fledged internet on board yet. And the other thing is what Niku also keeps propagating female less, females are less. So we still have around 2% of all seafarers are female. We still have it's a very, very male-dominated kind of industry where females have recently they have started coming up, and they have shown their prominence in this industry as well. Okay. So these are the components of the marine transport. So basically there are how many kinds of transport systems are there? Basically one is the air, then is the road, then third is the sea. These are the three main types of transport, that is modes of transport from the transportation perspective, from the manufacturing place to your door. Okay, so the three parts are divided to the mode of transport are three, which starts from maybe road or rail, then it goes to ship, then it goes to air, then maybe again it comes to road, and then comes to your house. So in that main part, what we are going to cover is the marine transportation. Marine transportation, we have the center one. If you can see, this is the marine transport system is the hub. You have all these components of it. First one is the navigable water, because if you are having ships, as I told you, we have such huge ships, so they will need a lot of water also to navigate. Okay, so we have people who are. I'll talk in terms of I will not talk technically. I will talk in terms of recruiters, where what kind of people we will need for these kind of areas. Navigable water means the ships where they can go. So people are required to maintain those depths at arrival and departure ports. Out at sea, the depths are there, but mostly these are all required at arrival and departure ports, where approach to the ports. Those are the areas where the navigable water needs to be maintained. So uske liye we have special kinds of ships. Those are called dredgers. So those ships keep these waters dredged, that is dug out all the mud and keep the depth maintained. Then you have the intermodal connection. Again, if the ship comes to a port, then you need the train or you need the road, because from the ships it is very rarely it goes to the air. It mostly comes to the train or the road. So you have two different modes where it can connect from the ship. And you have the shipyard. Shipyards are where they make the ships. Okay, so major builders are now China and Korea. Earlier we had Korea and Japan making a lot of ships. Now presently, with the labor cost, China is picking up very fast, and China are one of the biggest ship manufacturers in the world. Okay, then you have the repair facilities. Repair facilities, again, the ships are required to go for something called the dry dock. Okay, that is every 2.5 years they need to go for dry dock. So we will need people there also. People there also are required with technical knowledge. In shipyards, you will need with NAVARC and all the marine people are there. So all those you have the whole shipyard is basically a big industry. Okay, so you will have technical people who have the knowledge of ships, and you will have people with zero knowledge of ships also, because there are some things which is there for welding or all other designing structures. They don't need shipping knowledge, so they can work in the shipyard without much of shipping knowledge. But there are designing people who are required, which are naval architects, and there will also be technical people who have sailed on ships, who are actually in major positions where they will need to liaise with the ship owners who are getting their ships built. Okay, repair facilities very similar to shipyard. Again, the ships are required to regularly visit. As I told you, 2.5 years. Every 2.5 years they are supposed to come to the repair. That is that is planned maintenance, you can say. Every, like you go for overall servicing or something. So similarly, ships are required to go for servicing every 2.5 years. So they go to these dry docks, and then they are repaired of any underwater all the pumps and motors which are there below water. and which are connected to seawater cannot be opened when the ship is out at sea. So all those things are maintained when the ship is in dry dock. Okay, and repair facility is also used when there is any accidents or collisions or anything where the ships are required to get repaired again. Then that time also they come to the dry dock. Then the ports. Ports are again, they are the connection between the ships and the shore side. As I mentioned, ports are where the intermodal connections actually happen. Okay, the ships are loaded and discharged, and then from there the other modes of transport take over. That is, the train or road takes over from there. Again, ports has a very big hierarchy in itself. Ports are required. In ports, you have the security system, you have the operation system, you have the berthing and unberthing. There are pilots who need to, take the ship in and out. So all those things are, again, if I start a presentation for ports, we can have a separate presentation, a separate class for 2 hours only for ports. So ports is again a very big industry where you have a lot of people working which are required to operate the ship successfully and have the turnaround time of the ship to the minimum. And we have the vessels, of course. So we have the vessel. We have again vessels connected to vessels. We have the ship managers. We have ship owners. We have the crew managers. We have the ship service engineers. The repair facilities are basically where the ship actually comes and then they do the repair. There are service specialists and service industry, total industry separate for vessels who actually go on board and repair minor repairs that are happening continuously. We need a lot of maintenance, annual maintenance on the ships. We have firefighting extinguishers. We have life-saving appliances. There are so many things which require annual maintenance. So all those things are there. So they do have a separate industry for supporting the vessel. Okay, and in case of maintenance, and in case of communication, and in case of stores and spares and khana pina, everything. So for that it is a complete support system which happens for the vessels. Okay, these are the main components of the maritime industry, and in all the maritime components, you have these 4 things which are common to everything. That is operation and maintenance, safety, security and environment, navigation and communication, education and training. Education and training is required for repair facility. Education and training is required for shipyard. Education and training is required for ports. Education and training is required for vessels. So each of the components is connected to all these parts. Okay, like safety, security and environment. Everything, everywhere these are all ISO certified organizations. So you will have safety, you will have security, you will have the environmental protection also. Okay, in the ship management or the ships, you have a specific safety officer, you have a security officer. Okay, who take care of the safety and security and environmental protection. Operation and maintenance, of course, you had so many major equipments in ports, you have major equipment in vessels, you have major equipment in intermodal connections like train and trucks, so many things which need to be operated. So you see, it is not a very, very small industry which we can talk about, because you are all people who have just started interacting with the maritime industry. You will see very, very small portion of what is the huge scope the maritime industry has. Again, this I have not covered some other parts also of the maritime industry. It is not only this. You have other parts also where the software industry, the IT industry is connected to it. Those things are not yet. I have not included it. So that's a separate. You have equipment manufacturers. You have OEMs, which are companies which manufacture, which are authorized by the owners of the manufacturer that you can generate or you can produce our equipment. Like for example, there is the main engine. Okay, main engine, you have spare parts. So the main engine company, for example, BMW is the company's name who manufactures engines. So they give authority for other companies to produce their equipment. So it's like some kind of franchise. So all those things are also there. So the scope of job, if we think of what we can cover the maritime industry, if some company can say, okay, no, I can do the whole maritime industry recruiting or something, which is not possible because it's huge, and the amount of job they do, what kind of the diversity in the job I can say is huge, and it's very very challenging to cover the whole industry per se in a single slide. Okay. So there are two slots here which I have mentioned: shipyards and repair facilities.
Right.
Okay, these both areas are dry dock. Basically, dry dock means what it is. The dock is dry. So basically, what happens is the ship is taken out of the water. Okay, the ship is taken out of the water and put it on ground, because it is not that you can smaller ships you have cranes, you can lift them and keep, but bigger ships it is basically put into a cage like of a thing where the ships are placed, and then the lock, it is called the lock gate. The gate is closed, and then you drain the water. If you see YouTube, there will be thousands of videos we can have. What a dry dock is basically. So basically, what they do is in the dry dock. Why it is significant is because there are 2.5 years the ships have not been seen how it looks underwater. Okay, the ships have been sailing for last 2.5 years, and nobody has seen how the underwater looks like. The ship is sailing through so many waters, so many areas of low depth and all those things. So people are not touched the underwater portion. So in 2.5 years, after 2.5 years, there can be a lot of growth, and there can be a lot of machinery which require the dry dock for maintenance. So major portion of the engine room machinery, which are mostly connected to seawater, like main engine, the cooling system, all those things are connected to the seawater. So they cannot be opened up at sea. If they open up, the engine room will be flooded. So all those things are kept for the dry dock when they are opened from every 2.5 years. Basically, the propeller, the rudder, all those things are there which cannot be opened or checked during the ship is sailing. So, age of 15, 20 days, 20 to 25 days, the ship is there in the dry dock. There are so much of maintenance happening in the ship by the ship staff and the yard people. So, the coordination is very, very important. So, wherever you might be, some technical superintendent, if you have requirement, they will always ask, does he have dry dock experience? Has he been to a dry dock? That means he has to know what coordination needs to be done. Basically, the technical superintendent doesn't work actually like, overhauling the machinery or something like that. His role is to coordinate between the ship, the yard and the ship's people. That is the most important thing. What the job needs to be done. If the dry dock whole system starts from something called the repair specification. Repair specification starts around 4 to 6 months before the ship is due for dry dock. This is a document which is made by the ship, where they start writing all the defects on the ship which needs to be repaired only in the dry dock. Dry dock again is very, very important for tankers, because they cannot do any hot work. That is, they cannot use any welding machine, or they cannot use any open flame cutting machine or something like that when the ship is in operation. That is, if she has cargo, like you have crude oil on the ship or you have gas on the ship, and if you use fire for gas cutting or welding, there can be an explosion. So all these only cold jobs are allowed when a ship is sailing. So all these jobs keep piling up. So रेलिंग टूट गया, इधर टूट गया, वो टूट गया, जो छोटा मोटा चीजें हैं, that all keeps piling up for the dry dock. So dry dock becomes one concentrated spot where lot of maintenance happens and are very, very strong. Because it is very, they require, so there is lot of planning required, because every day in dry dock is very, very expensive. So lot of job needs to be done in a very, very short period of time. So that means there is a lot of planning required, lot of coordination required. So that makes the technical, usually it is a technical superintendent who manages the vessel in the dry dock. There are two superintendents for every ship. One is technical, and the marine superintendent. So technical superintendent take care of all the technical engine side machinery, etc. And the marine superintendent takes care of all the navigation part plus the charter party related items. The marine superintendent takes care. So for the dry dock, The technical superintendent in charge, because it's most of technical jobs which is carried out in the dry dock, and he has to be, on his toes to ensure all the jobs are completed, because there is a budget also. It is not that, सब काम डाल दिया repair specification में, there are 500 items, everything will be done. No, again there is a budget, so he has to maintain the budget also. He has to maintain the time also. He has to maintain the number of days in the dry dock. So all those things, because the charter party is already waiting for the ship, because while the ship is in dry dock, the ship is not earning. So it is on the owners, the number of days the ship is idle in dry dock, the owners are losing per day. It can be from $40,000 to $80,000 per day. So they are losing so many dollars per day. So the timing is also important. So all these things he has to bring it together and get the job done. And he ऐसे भी नहीं होना चाहिए कि there is some major job left out and the ship leaves and then they have to bring, because the bringing back to the dry dock is again a very expensive affair. So he has to plan all these things and ensure all the important jobs are done, and he has to prioritize everything. So that's why this dry dock is very, very important and critical for any technical system.
Okay, one more question I had here. Like, we have got different kind of vessels. Bulkies, we have containers, we have LPG, LNG, as well as tankers. Which kind of vessels requires more amount of time for dry docking to do a properly dry dock?
See, it all depends. It doesn't depend on the type of ship per se, because everything has the whole thing which needs to be done. Because mostly, as I told you, जो dry dock में होता है काम, that is mostly on the engine side.
Right.
Okay, the deck side में क्या होता है कि all the machineries, everything can be accessed during the ship sailing period also. But in the engine room machinery side, it is not accessible during the sailing time. So the majority of the portion happens in dry dock for the engine side. Bulk carriers and dry ships, where they can do hot work on while the ship is sailing also. So comparatively, most of the jobs which are जो उधर ज़्यादा भी टूटता है, lot of cargo operations happen. So there are a lot of repair works which are required to be done on the deck side, which are done at sea on bulk carriers and containers हो जाता है. But tankers also, things are also not done. For in that perspective, maybe you can tell 1 or 2 days more, but these are all happening parallelly. So you cannot actually specify कि the bulk carrier में कम time लगेगा या tanker में ज़्यादा time लगेगा. It doesn't depend on the vessel type per se actually.
Okay. Otherwise, normally how much time does it take? 10 to 15 days, right, for a dry dock complete?
15-20 days, yeah, max to max. There are sometimes they have to do something called the capture, which is the vessel has become 20 years old. Okay,
right.
Then the classification society may tell you need to change the plate, the main hull plate, those things are cut and renewed. So if those things happen, because they have something called the ultrasound gauging, they will do, and they will go the whole ship. It will take some 15-20 days to measure all the points on the ship where what is the thickness, what is the thickness which was during the build, and now what is the thickness. So if it is around 10 to 15% less होता है, then they have to cross and renew that plate. So that if they have lot of plates which need to be renewed, then based on that the days will increase. So otherwise standard, if you say, it is around 15 to 20 days to be dry dock.
So usually after every sail this dry dock is done, or usually there's a certain amount of time, sailing time के बाद ही dry dock is recommended ideally?
Yeah, ideally we have something called the HSSC, Harmonized System of Survey Certification. Okay, so उसके तहत क्या होता है कि first year you have a certificate issued. Okay, and the second year is called the annual, and third year the second or the third. So if you do second year, you have to do annual. The third year you do something called the intermediate. If you do the second year intermediate, then the third year is annual. So you have 5 annuals. And जो 5 annuals है उसके बीच में जो 5 annuals है उसके बीच में 2 dry docks होने जरूरी है. Either you do it the second one, or you do it the third one, or again the fifth one. So there are 2 dry docks, either second or third, and the fifth. So basically it is every 5 years 2 dry docks.
Got it. पेंटिंग उसी समय करते होंगे ना, ड्राई डॉक में ही ship को पेंट.
Yeah, because they cannot access the ship side during sailing. Everything all related to ship side is all done with that.
Okay.
So So that's why planning becomes very, very critical. You need to exactly plan because you have only 15-20 days in hand. And those 2.5 साल से जो भी collect हो रहा है pending, we will do it in Reda. So all those things needs to be completed with that.
Okay, got it. एंड तो जो ब्लेड्स होता है शिप में जो लगा रहता है उसका भी लाइफ स्पैन होता होगा ना कि इतना ही सेलिंग कर पाएगा बिकॉज दैट्स व्हाट द फंक्शंस राइट तो दैट मेक्स द शिप मूव
Which one?
ये ब्लेड्स लगे रहते हैं ना शिप पे थे बड़े बड़े फैन टाइप व्हाट डू वी कॉल दैट प्रोपेलर हाँ उसका भी लाइफ स्पैन होगा ना
No. Propellers are lifelong. We don't change dry dock to dry dock.
Okay.
It's only made once. You cannot, if you have to make one more propeller, it will again take 3-4 months. You have to order and everything.
Oh.
So some older ships had, spare propellers on board in case if it is damaged or something. The ships get aground and then the propeller gets damaged. Then you change. Otherwise, you don't change. There is something called the clearance. Okay, so there is a shaft where the engine is operating. And there is a shaft which is coming out, and the propeller is connected to the shaft. So you have shaft, you have seals, lot of seals in the shaft, so that water doesn't go through those shafts into the engine room. So those shafts, everything are checked for the water tightness.
Okay.
And the propellers are polished because usme 2 saal mein you have lot of this muck, all these barnacles, everything come and sit on the propeller. So the propeller is all polished. It's all polished and एकदम चमका के रखते हैं. But otherwise, propeller is made once only for it. They don't change the propeller.
क्योंकि पानी में रस्ट तो लग ही जाता है ना उसमें भी.
No. These are all special kind of alloys where they don't get rust at all.
All right.
So if
What
you
is
have
the
anything,
point about the vessels because they have been reading various vessels on the CV, right? Like tankers और ये बल्क अलग अलग टाइप के वेसल्स होते हैं ना तो थोड़ा समझा दीजिएगा केप साइज क्या होता है हैंडी मैक्स क्या होता है पैरामैक्स क्या होता है so they will understand.
Major ports. These are all the major ports. Okay, you have this is the west coast. You have the Arabian Sea here. Right hand side you have the Bay of Bengal. You have starting from Mundra, you have Kandla, Jamnagar. Then you have Mumbai. Though you have Goa. Then you have Mangalore. Then you have Cochin. These are all artificial ports. Mangalore, Tuticorin, Chennai, Vizag. These are all artificial ports. Others are artificial ports meaning you have to create something called the breakwater. They don't have, crust or something where the ships can go inside and you have a protection, natural protection nahi hai. So they have to have man-made protection hai because the ships, when they go into the port, they should have protection from the waves and all. Otherwise, the ships will be dancing around in the port. So for that, they have to have a lot of protection. So here the ports you don't have natural protection. Otherwise, other ports you have good protection. Like Cochin, you have a big river which you go into, and then inside the river you have a port. Similarly for Haldia, you have a large river. You have to go inside, and then you have the port. So you have a natural protection there. Okay, so these are all the major ports which are in India. You have 100 ports and every day you have a new port coming up. Okay, so the coast is huge for us, and that's why our maritime industry is also very, very huge, and that's why our export import is also very, very huge. We have this very cheap kind of compared to other modes of transport. We have the cheap kind of transport available for us. That's one of the reasons we are also prospering so fast. If we would have been landlocked, then such kind of prosperity is not possible.
Yeah, here one question I have. Actually, my son was also listening to this. He said, why do we make artificial ports?
Because basically ports, ports are made for industry. Okay.
Right.
If industries are, for example, you have a huge, steel mine. You can have iron mine or iron ore ka jo big. You have a place which is landlocked, and near to that there is no port. So what happens from that mine? They have to load those ore in trucks and take it to large distances, and then from the next port, then they have to export or import.
Okay.
So if they have a port nearby, then it is very easy.
Or again, I can.
Yeah.
So, the type of vessels what you needed. So these are all the some type of vessels. This list is not still exhaustive. Okay, we have the major divisions. First is the pleasure craft, then the merchant ships, then the naval ships. We are not going to cover naval ships and pleasure crafts this session because we are interested only in merchant ships. Okay, merchant ships may we have passenger ships, we have cargo ships, we have service ships, and we have fishing ships. Okay, passenger ships again we are not going to go very deep. If you have cruise ships and all those things. Then you have the cargo ships. Cargo ships again, as we mentioned, there are three types of major vessel types. That is dry cargo, liquid cargo, and general cargo. Okay, dry cargo is basically reefer, bulk carrier, and container. And again, you have various sizes in this. Like Neetu was telling. Panamax, Handymax. You have again these kinds are all these kinds of terminologies. These also keep changing. You have Handymax, you have handy size. Handy size is basically 30 to 35,000. Handymax is around 50,000. And after this, it comes the Panamax. Panamax is around 75,000. And you have the Cape size. This is all I'm talking about the bulk carriers. Cape size is around 1 lakh. Then you have very large ore carriers, the VLOCs. They are called VLOCs. They are around 1.5 to 2 lakh tons. Okay, so these are all the distribution for the bulk carriers. Very generic and just for the size. What they can carry VLOCs. We call them VLOCs because those size of ships 1.5 lakh ton to 2 lakh tons are required only to carry the ore. What I was telling. Okay. If we have to take a truck and then from the mine to the port, if you have to do 1.5 lakh tons, the one truck can take around 10 tons. So kitna trips lagega truck ko to go to that port and then load the ship, so it will take a decade. So that's why it is always better to have a port nearby the industry. So these are all the bulk carriers. And the container vessels, again, container vessels are described based on the TEUs. You can have smaller ships which are called transshippers. Transshippers have around 3,000 to 4,000 containers. It can be less also. They can go up to 2,000 TEUs also. The container ships are always sold as TEUs. They don't have a GRT, NRT, or deadweight or something like that. Okay, it is based on the size of number of TEUs. It's 20 equivalent units it can carry. Okay, there are two types of containers as I mentioned earlier. Also, there are 20 feet containers and there are 40 feet containers. Okay, 20 feet is basically the size. The length is 20 feet, and the second one is 40 feet. These are only standard ships, standard sizes, so that it can go on any container ships. Because if containers are made of different sizes, then it will be difficult to stack them in different kinds of ships.
Right.
So it is all made internationally standard sizes, 20 feet and 40 feet. So all the ships are measured in terms of number of containers, 20 feet containers they can carry. Okay. Liquid cargo containers, again liquid cargo vessels, you have oil tankers, gas tankers, chemical tankers, acid tankers, and you have wine tankers also. Wine tankers was purana zamana ho gaya. It's all transported in containers only. Okay. You have containers specifically to take liquid cargo. Okay. So you have oil tankers. Oil tankers, if you want the classification, they have something called the coastal tankers. Coastal tankers are around 20,000 tons dead weight. Again, you know what is dead weight and you know what is GRT, NRT. So I'll explain quickly what is GRT, NRT, and dead weight also. GRT and NRT, these are all basically numbers, and they don't have any unit. Okay, so GRT and NRT is used for calculation of the port dues, etc. Basically, the ship size is measured in GRT. GRT is basically including stores, spares, the sea rooms, you have the cargo space, you have the accommodation. ये सब का एक वॉल्यूम कैलकुलेट करते हैं. वो वॉल्यूम को एक नंबर में कन्वर्ट करते हैं, उसको GRT बोलते हैं. एंड द वॉल्यूम ऑफ कार्गो कैरिंग स्पेस, अगर उसको खाली स्पेसिफिसिटी लेते हैं और उसको एक नंबर में कन्वर्ट करते हैं, उसको NRT बोलते हैं. So it is gross registered tonnage and net registered tonnage. And there is something called the dead weight. Dead weight is basically how many tons of cargo ship can carry. If I tell this is 50,000 dead weight ship, then it can carry 50,000 tons of cargo. That's what it means. Okay, these are the GRT, NRT, and the deadweight. Okay, these are the three terms you should know. And oil tankers, if I have to classify them, again 20,000 deadweight, 20,000 deadweight tons is called coastal tankers. Then you have bigger vessels which are 40,000 tons. They are called MR tankers. Then you have around 70, 80,000 tons. They are called LR, that is long range vessels, LR1, LR2. There are two types of vessels, LR1 and LR2. Then you have something called the Aframaxes, which are around 1 lakh tons. And after that, you have something 1.5 lakh tons is called the Suezmax tons, because they can go through the Suez. Then after that, you have VLCC. That is around 2 lakh, you have VLCC. And you have 3 lakh, you have which is called the ultra large crude carrier. VLCC is very large crude carrier, and the ULCC is called ultra large crude carrier. Okay, this is the classification of oil tankers. Gas tankers, you have gas carriers. You have various sizes. We have small gas tankers. You don't have much of classification into gas carriers by size like what we have for oil tankers. It is basically on the cargo which they carry, because size can vary based on the requirement. Oil tanker में क्या है कि you have huge requirements. Gas tanker, it's all very specific requirements for this facility. So you have vessel types, you can call them as fully pressurized tankers. Fully pressurized gas tankers are basically छोटे होते हैं. They don't have any re-liquefaction plant. Again, if you have to go deep into it, you have LPG and LNG. Okay, LPG is what you have in your cylinder at home, and LNG is basically what is used in the vehicles. Okay, LPG is propane and butane, and LNG is methane. Okay, LNG is used in vehicles, and LPG is used at home. Okay, LPG, this propane and butane have a boiling point of propane has minus 40 something, and butane has around, they are carried around -4, -5 degrees. Okay, so they have something called the re-liquefaction plant on the ship. Okay, so basically, because they are all carried in liquid form, they are not carried the gas carriers. It doesn't mean they are carrying gas in gaseous form. They are all pressurized. They are all refrigerated, and they are carried in liquid form. Okay, so this liquid, if in case of if you have any liquid which is which is very flammable and which vaporizes very easily, and if ship goes through the sea, obviously the ship will shake and the liquid will become gas. So all this gas which is leaking will get collected, and then it is again re-liquefied on the ship and then sent back to the tank. It is again liquefied and put it in the tank. Those are called refrigerated vessels which have equipment for re-liquefaction. There are these fully pressurized vessels, so छोटे जहाज होते हैं, around 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 deadweight तक होते हैं. These ships are fully pressurized, which they don't have any re-liquefaction plant. They do very small voyages, so if the gas leaks, they just let it out. Okay, and they don't have a re-liquefaction plant. They keep it. The vessel structure again changes. जो pressurized ships हैं, उसके जो structure है, they are more standard. They are more. They can carry more pressure. These refrigerated vessels cannot cater to a lot of pressure from the gas which is created into the tank. Okay, so in that case, pressurized vessels are smaller. They can carry less cargo, and they don't have re-liquefaction plant. Then they have something called the semi-refrigerated vessel, where the tanks are designed in such a way that the pressure which it can hold is little higher than what is the refrigerated ships have, and they have a partial re-liquefaction plant also. And the huge vessels, there are around 50,000 tons के ऊपर, 50,000 tons deadweight के ऊपर जो vessels है, they are called VLG. Okay, so they can carry more than 50, 60, 70,000 tons of cargo, which is liquid gas, which is propane or butane, and they have a full-fledged re-liquefaction plant where they can re-liquefy all the gas which escapes from the liquid. Okay, and you have the LNG tanker. Again, LNG, you have the new type of vessels which are coming, or the bunker vessels, bunker LNG vessels, because the next fuel is going to be LNG. LPG was never a fuel, but LNG will be the next fuel for some time before hydrogen comes in. So there are a lot of LNG vessels which are usually the LNG vessels used to be 180,000 tons to 250,000 tons. Okay, these are all differentiated based on the engine and they are not based on the size actually. Okay, they are all dependent on what type of tanks they have, what kind of engines they have. All the LNG ships are classified on those criteria. They are not classified into the size criteria. These huge ships, but presently, as the ships are changing into LNG as a fuel, even container ships, there are so many container ships and cargo ships which are converting from the traditional crude oil, the liquid oil fuel to LNG fuel. So they will be running like our autos and buses, like they will also be running on LNG. Okay, because the strictness of the emission hota hai engine se, that has continuously been increasing around the world. That we are polluting, the ships are polluting the atmosphere. So the strictness of the emission, the gases which were emitted, that was becoming stricter and stricter. इसमें sulfur इतना होना चाहिए, इसमें carbon इतना होना चाहिए. All those regulations were becoming stricter and stricter. So owners felt this is becoming very difficult for us. So we will shift the fuel from oil, traditional oil, to LNG. So most of the ships are now being built. अभी जो नया ships बन रहे हैं, mostly they are having either dual fuel, which can use oil and LNG, or they are going purely with LNG and electric motors. Okay, these are the main fuel. They are again changing. As I told you, there is a huge technical change in the how the ships are built and operated. So this is one of the major change which is happening is from traditional fuel to LNG and electric motors.
What will happen to the old ships, once this, like everyone is moving towards LNG, right? So what will happen? Will these vessels be going in a scrap or it's going to be converted? Is there a possibility?
Of their life. It is not that they will suddenly stop operating. They will still operate. We will have some time, 15-20 days, 15-20 years the transition hoga. Okay. All the old ships which were built, they will all go to scrap.
Okay. But these cannot be converted into that, right? They cannot be converted. These vessels, existing one, they cannot be converted into dual fuel, right?
No, जैसे पेट्रोल वेसल में पेट्रोल कार्स में हम लोग LNG लगा CNG लगा देते हैं, ऐसे नहीं लगा सकते.
So I'm looking at ship recycling yard का बहुत काम मिलने वाला है after certain time उनके लिए.
See, the ship recycling means it is scrap yard.
Yeah, scrap. That's what I'm saying. So more potential for them. So more potential for them. The more and more LNG vessels comes. इतने सारे भी पता नहीं कि कितने वेसल्स होंगे वर्ल्ड वाइड.
LNG vessels?
नहीं टोटल वेसल्स अभी वर्ल्ड वाइड कितने होंगे, कुछ तो काउंट होगा ना, जितना रजिस्ट्री होता है बहुत होंगे.
बहुत होंगे.
बहुत. Everyone is moving.
I had read in the article there are around 870 vessels in the world LNG के, and they are expanding.
No, she's talking about all.
Talking about all. Okay,
yes, all.
Yeah, 870 is small number as compared to the vessels which we have worldwide for different segments.
He's talking about only LNG vessels. What Nitu is trying to tell is कि बाकी जो पुराने जहाज हैं वो उसके लिए मतलब the total just cargo tanker सब मिला के
worldwide. All right. And what are those vessels called? Which load ship, like ships on ships. I've also seen that. YouTube पे देखा मैंने, ship carrying ship. What are those vessels called?
Those are called semi-submersible vessels.
Which one?
Semi-submersible.
Semi-submersible vessels.
Yeah. So what?
We have specialized master and people for that.
Huh?
उसके लिए specialized लोग रहते हैं कि normal? It's like normal people, normal crews only.
It's normal crew goes. ऐसा कोई specialization नहीं. Basically, what happens is they have ballast tanks where they put water and the ship itself sinks.
Mm-hmm.
So they have tall columns on the side and the ship sinks actually. The ship sinks and the smaller vessels are navigated into the ship. Then the ship, the pani जो है, they pump it out. So it comes up and lifts the ship.
So how many ships are normally that vessel? How many ships normally it can carry and the sizes?
It depends. It depends. What kind of size of the ship it has. I have seen ships which are carrying around 20 barges,
Wow.
20 to 50 barges, based on the size of the ship. No, how much it can carry.
But those only small ships, no tugs, barges, that only they can carry, not the bigger ones. Tankers and all they cannot, right?
No, no, not the bigger. They can carry only the smaller.
Okay, okay.
Bigger ones are usually towed. They are not lifted. Like.
All right.
Okay, so this was about the gas carriers. Then we will go to the chemical. Chemical, again, we have something. There are 3 types of chemicals which we talk about usually. It is chemical category 1, chemical type 2, and chemical type 3. Type 1 is the most stringent. Type 1 containers, that chemical tankers are very, very less in number. It is almost negligible. It is mostly we talk about chemical type 2 and type 3 tankers. Type 2 tankers are hardcore chemicals like acids and hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, all those things. And these ships have, these are all also called parcel tankers. Parcel tankers, because these chemicals, no, we don't require it in huge quantity. So the gas carriers and oil tankers will have maximum 10 to 15 tanks per ship. But these chemical tankers can have up to 30-35 tanks per ship. Okay. Because they can carry so many types of chemicals at one time. Because these are all required at small quantities, the ships will never fill up if they have a small number of tanks. And all these tanks should be very, very segregated. Because one chemical cannot mix with another chemical. With gas carriers and oil tankers, we carry maybe 1 or 2 or 3 grades to the maximum. Here they can have some 20-30 chemicals in one ship, one load. Okay, so those are called parcel tankers, and these are all small ships around 15 to 20,000 GRP ships. These are all chemical type 2 ships. Type 3 ships are basically which carry light chemicals or oil, this edible oil, palm oil. All these tankers come into the chemical type 3 category. So these ships are bigger, around 40-50,000 tons they can carry. So these are the chemical tankers will not go beyond this size. It will be maximum 50-60,000 tons and not more than that. More than that, it is only oil tank. So if somebody is telling, I have sailed on a 1.5 lakh ton chemical tanker, then that means
that means he is? Yeah. So it's not more than 50 to 60,000 tons, right? All of them, type 2, 3, all.
Type 2 is very, very small. They don't go usually more than 20-25,000 tons per meter.
Okay. They are
all very, very small, but they can carry so many cargoes at a time. They can carry around 20-30 cargoes at a time.
Okay. So that must be quite technical also, because different kind of chemicals will be carried. So specialized hands one needs.
Yeah.
Because what?
Seafarers are trained to do, because हमको जो COC मिलता है, it doesn't mention कि हम लोग chemical tanker में जा सकते हैं या gas tanker में जा सकते हैं. So we are supposed to be proficient in working in any type.
Okay.
Basically, type 2 means they will have stainless steel tanks. The inside the tank it will be all stainless steel, so that it will get corroded. Because the normal steel gets corroded very easily with the chemicals. So they have stainless steel tanks. All the type 2 parcel tankers usually have stainless steel tanks.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, acid tankers are basically type 2, type 1 tankers which carry very strong acid, and it's all very, very small ships. And wine tankers, I don't think this is a very old type of ship which we definitely don't have any. It's all transported in containers. We have liquid containers which you would have seen in the road also. So you have containers which are designed in the shape of a tank, which can carry liquid. So all those wine, everything is high price cargo is all transported only through containers. Okay. General cargo vessels, you have this is Obo is basically, now it is not there presently. It is again an old kind of a ship where it is called ore bulk oil. Means one way, because for example, if we are doing a voyage between Persian Gulf and Vizag. Okay, Vizag is known for iron ore. and Persian Gulf is the Gulf countries are known for oil. So what they used to do, load from Vizag iron ore and take it to Persian Gulf, discharge there, load oil and bring it back in the same tank. So that was the old thing. But इसमें क्या होता था कि there was a lot of pollution which was happening because they have to clean the tank again. They have to load ore. They have to clean all the oil out, and then when they have to load oil, they have to clean all the ore. Everything is completely clean before they load. So there was a lot of pollution happening. So this was stopped. So now no ship has you can carry dry and wet in the same ship. It is not possible. Earlier it was around 1980s, 1990s that was happening. Then you have the general cargo vessel, मतलब कुछ भी load कर लो. You have break bulk, you have you can load the trucks on this vessel, you can load coils, you have steel billets, all those general which are required, and these are all space are booked small parcels, and these are the first kind of ships which actually came up without where there were no specialization. So एक cargo hold था जिसमें you can load oil. एक होल्ड था जिसमें यू कैन लोड कंटेनर. एक होल्ड था जिसमें यू कैन पुट grains, you can load wheat and rice, and so all those things, it's just anything and everything you can load on the ship. Those kinds of ships were called general cargo vessels, which are mostly died out presently. We don't have many general cargo vessels. They're all specialized because the trade has become very specialized, and the ships are also become very specialized. So and the quantities which are required, there is something called economy of scale. Economy of scale says that for if you are loading 100 tons and if you are loading 1000 tons, the cost है 100 to 1000 tons. It is not going to increase 10%. It is going to increase only 2-3% because the number of crew is going to be the same. If you have a 100-ton ship, there are going to be 10-15 people. If you are going to have 1000-ton ship, again there are 10-15 people. So the price increase of carrying more cargo is not directly proportional to the cost. So the bigger ships you make, the cheaper it is. The amount of cargo you can increase, the cost continuously keeps reducing. So that is why general cargo vessels have gone out of fashion, where they can carry different parcels, but again small quantity. So they were not very economical. So that is why all these chemical tankers, gas tankers, and oil tankers all came up. So that they can, and after the coming of container ships, you can put anything and everything in container ships. You can pack. So you can pack from scrap, so you can pack to mud, sand, anything and everything you can load in container. So that's why the general cargo vessels were actually going out of fashion. And the service ships, again, these are all offshore vessels. Again, you have dredger, you have tugboats, you have icebreaker, you have cable layers. These are all, by the name also you can understand what they are going to do, pipe layers. These are all lash ship is very, it is out of fashion again. Lash ships used to have, containers which can be floating. So what they do is, you have a ship which comes outside the port and it dumps all these containers. The containers are specially made to, float. So these lash ships come and then dump these containers outside the port, and the tugs go and pick up the containers and come inside. So that reduces the time in the port. So these were the kind of ships which used to do this. Nowadays the ships are out of fashion also. So we don't have any more lash ships around. Then you have the fire. Then you have the light ship. Light ship is basically you have all the lighthouses. All those lighthouses are maintained by these ships called light ships. Okay, and barges are basically you have again self-propelled barges and non-propelled barges. Those are called dumb barges. They are dumb because they don't have engines. So it is basically a big dabba, and you can load anything. Mostly ores and grains are loaded in these barges, and they are towed to the ships and loaded from. If you go to Indonesia and a lot of barges, you can see where they are all dumb. So you have a lot of tugs, they come and they put it alongside, and then the cargo is loaded from those barges. Okay, fishing vessels, we will not go deep. You have various kinds of how do they do the fishing. So that based on that you have. Okay, so this is a major what do you say, overview of what kind of merchant ships you can come across. Okay, tankers, I told you, chemical tankers, oil tankers, and VLCC. How will you differentiate? If you see a ship, how will you know? Chemical tankers, if you see, you will have frames on the deck. So, seeing that ship, you will know this is a chemical tanker. Because inside the tank, it should be very, very clean. Because chemicals, once you load and discharge and you need to load another chemical, it has to be thoroughly clean. So, if you have all these frames, you have support inside the tank, then it will be very difficult for the crew to clean it. So, that is why if you see a lot of frames and supports on the deck, that means, it's a chemical tanker. Oil tanker, it is mostly clean on deck. There is nothing much. You will have some openings and all. But otherwise, the deck of the ship, the middle one, you can see it is very, very clean. Aram se cricket ke sakte. So inside you have a lot of frames and supporting, etc. And this is a VLCC. You can see the size, and you have a helipad. It is usually a VLCC or FPSO. It's called Floating Protection Storage and Offloading Tankers. These are all in one place. They have helipads and they have huge size. It is something similar to tankers only, but if you see the size, it will be huge, which you can make out. It's VLCC. VLCC is basically very large crude carrier. We tell it crude because you don't have product in that amount. Like what we told, chemical tankers 60,000 hota hai. Similarly, crude only can go up to 2 lakh, 3 lakh tons. You don't carry product up to 2 lakh, 3 lakh. Products I have seen up to Suezmax 1.5 lakh tons that we have seen diesel and petrol being carried. But otherwise, not more than that. So VLCC, it has to be crude oil. If it is a VLCC and they are saying, I was loading petrol in VLCC, then it is. Okay, gas carriers, you have, as I told you, you have dome types, which are mostly, these are the pressurized types. This dome types, the circle wala tank, they are very, very stronger compared to the other types of ships. So in this, mostly you will have on pressurized ships where you have dome. And then next one is the flush deck type, where you don't see any gas tanks on the deck, but you have inside, you have very similar kind of tanks like the other cargo ships, and which is strengthened in between. These are all the refrigerated ships. And these are all membrane type tanks, which are very, very thin tanks, which are made in the kind of a prism. It is not a proper rectangle tank, it's kind of a prism, which pops out of the deck also, some portion. Okay, so these are all the membrane tanks. So if you see a ship, you can guess what kind of a ship it is. It is from the way you see it on the deck, you can tell what kind of a ship it is. Bulk carriers, you have the gearless type, where basically you don't have any gear on board. Gear meaning crane, okay, for loading and discharging. So if you don't have anything, if you see this ship, this is flat. If you see on the left hand side, the ship is very, very flat. You don't have any cranes on board. So these are all very huge ships. This is basically a VLOC. You can see very large ore carrier. It is somewhere in a ore port where it is loading or discharging using the short cranes. There are two short gantries. These are all called gantries. So it is loading and discharging from these gantries in a port. So the ship cannot go to a port where there are no gantries or cranes in the port. Then they cannot do any loading discharging operation. Okay, right hand side you can see you have cranes. These are all called the gear type. You have cranes on the ship. So this can go to any port. You can go to any deep river port or anything. So that you don't require any shore assistance for loading and discharge. Okay, so that is the difference between geared and gearless. Okay, Lalita?
How that it helps, Vijay? Some which does not have a crane and which has a crane. There must be a difference in the sizes also, right?
Yeah. So if you see, usually the bigger ships, big ships, don't have gear. Only the smaller ships will have gear. If you see the left hand side, this ship is basically, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have 9 holds. So basically it can carry around 2 lakh tons of cargo. Mm-hmm. So this will go to a port where you have gantries, because 2 lakh tons of cargo हम लोग crane से load discharge करेंगे, it will take a month. But these ships will get discharged loaded in around 24 to 36 hours. एक 2 दिन के डेले पूरा cargo discharge कर देते हैं.
ये बड़े वाले ना, gearless वाले.
ये जो बड़े वाले हैं. बड़े
और ये वाले छोटे वाले गियर टाइप?
छोटे वाले को डिस्चार्जिंग के लिए दे टेक अराउंड 7, 8, 10 days based on which port they are and how kind of what kind of discharging arrangement they have. मतलब they are loading discharging into the barge or they are discharging into the quay. कभी कभी क्या होता है these ships go into river port. River में बीच में anchor डाल देते हैं. Then small barges come and we are required to discharge into the barge.
Right.
So in that case, it will take more time because the barge has to go there because number of barges alongside is also restricted. ऐसे नहीं कि हम लोग बहुत सारे barges कर सकते हैं. So actually you will have 2 barges.
What is the significance between having a gearless and gear type? You know, here the timings taken are less, and in gear type timings taken are more. So then they must be having some specific usage, right?
The flexibility of where the ship can go. ये बड़ा जहाज है, it cannot go to all the ports.
Okay.
But it जहाज है, they can go anywhere and everywhere. कहीं पे भी घुस जाएंगे.
अच्छा. Okay.
These gearless vessels have to go only to a specific port where they have such big handling facilities. बड़े बड़े gantries होने चाहिए. You know, it is all dedicated bulk carrier ports. जैसे Ennore है. Ennore is a very big bulk carrier port. जो चेन्नई के पास है. So these ships will go only to those ports. They cannot go anywhere else. बट ऐसे छोटे जहाज है, कहीं पे भी घुस जाएंगे. कहीं पे रिवर में अंदर में कहीं पे है. You know, it will go directly into the heart of the city. ये लोग सिटी से बहुत दूर दूर रहेंगे. इधर इसमें जो काम करते हैं इनको शोर लीफ जाने के लिए बहुत टाइम लगेगा और मे भी शोर लीफ होगा भी नहीं. बट ये जो छोटे छोटे जहाज है, ये लोग कहीं पे भी ये लोग हार्ट ऑफ द सिटी में जाके बस करेंगे.
Okay.
So that's the flexibility the gear type vessels have, the gearless.
Okay, so the product, when you say product tankers or what is that? Product means it can be any kind of product or what exactly is that?
Yeah.
Because
when tell me.
Yeah, I want to understand when they say that we have sailed product tankers also. So I understood the oil, I understand, chemical, I understand. So when we say product means it can be any kind of a product or there is any specific, so it is called as a product tanker.
Yeah, product is basically petroleum product. Basically, see what you get is crude from the ground, okay, from the seabed or from the oil wells. You get some you get the crude oil, which is the एकदम कच्चा तेल बोलते हैं ना, जो it is crude, it is getting from the ground. Then you have refineries which refine this crude oil. Then once you refine it, you get around जो petroleum में है, you have around 10 to 15 products which you get from the petroleum. That is, you have naphtha, you have ATF, which is the aviation turbine fuel. You have petrol, you have diesel, you have various kinds of diesel, you have various kinds of petrol. So all these are products of which are coming out of the crude oil. So if somebody tells you, I have worked on a product tanker, then you can ask him whether, the question you can ask is whether clean products or dirty products. Okay, clean product means you have all the clean cargo. ATF हो गया, this aviation turbine fuel which is used in the aeroplanes. Then you have the diesel, you have petrol, you have naphtha. These are all white products or these are all called clean products. And you have something called the black products or the dirty products. Dirty products are heavy oil basically. Heavy oil, then you also have bitumen tankers. Bitumen tankers are also product tankers, and they are black. Bitumen is basically the tar which they are using for the road. No? So these are also coming from the petroleum. So these are all called dirty products or the black products.
Okay. One more thing, this optimizations when they should know how the weather something they should measure. I mean, basically, this role is being handled by an operation, I think, executive or operation one. So, what is that?
Let me finish this presentation. Then I have
to topic, Larita. Let him explain the vessel. That's a complete different topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we will take up. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay, let's come to the organization of the ship. So this is a major, standard. I'm not talking about passenger ships or something like that. It's a very standard, normal जो sailing ship है, उसमें ये वाला होगा. You have master on top, you have deck, engine, and the galley department, you can say, or you can tell the steward department, or you can tell the catering department. So all these things, khana pina ka, this is the third department they take care. Deck department mein you have chief officer, second officer, third officer. Some companies they have something called the first officer, who is below the chief officer and above the second officer. Okay, and you have these are all called officers. This rectangle, chief officer, second officer, third officer, they are all called officers. And below bosun and ratings, bosun and deck ratings are called ratings. Okay, bosun also comes under some companies they call them petty officers, or generally they are all called ratings. Okay, you have deck ratings, above deck ratings, you have the bosun who is in charge of the deck ratings. Okay, deck ratings mein you have able seamen, you have ordinary seamen, okay, and you will have pump man. Those are all called the deck ratings. Engine department, again you have the chief engineer, second engineer, third engineer, electrician. You will have some ships. You also have fourth engineer. Then you have on the both sides you have trainees. On the deck side, the trainee is called deck cadet. On the engine side, he is called the trainee marine engineer. Then you have like deck ratings, you have engine ratings. Engine ratings, you have oilers, you have wipers, and you can have fitters. Okay, these are the three categories of ratings which we have. And steward department, galley department, catering department, you have the cook and the GS, general steward, the messman you have, and you have the chief cook. Steward, abhi chief steward koi nahi hota hai on board. It is only chief cook, and messman is also called the general steward. You will have one more category in between in some ships, which is called the second cook. So you will have chief cook, second cook, and the messman. And or you can have only the chief cook and messman. And some ships you don't have a messman also. Smaller ships you don't have a GS also, general steward. The cook takes care of the meals, and somebody from the deck or engine side helps the cook for other cleaning purposes and all of it. Okay. You have any doubts in the organization of the ship?
Sometimes you see that additional master.
The additional master, there cannot be एक जंगल में दो शेर नहीं हो सकते. ठीक है. So basically जो additional master है, we give that rank, but he is basically a chief officer.
Yeah.
If somebody tells कि मैं additional master में change किया, so that means it is basically the stamp is additional master, but he was doing only the chief officer's job.
Okay. Basically, assisting master, right? In his absence, some issue has happened to, he will take the role of his, right? Additional master?
No, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. मतलब chief officer can take the master's rank. If something happens to the master, the second in command is chief officer.
Okay.
This is we do it for commercial reasons where एक तो मतलब वो ऑफिसर को लगता है हाँ मेरे को एडिशनल मास्टर का टाइम मिला तो मतलब मैं मास्टर का थोड़ा और पास आ गया. बिकॉज everybody's destination is master, पर जहाँ से ज्वाइन किया तो यार मेरे को कैसे मास्टर बनना है.
Right.
So he feels तो थोड़ा सा psychological feeling होता है कि ठीक है मैं additional master हूँ तो master के पास हूँ. That is one aspect. Second aspect is this additional master, sometimes they use it for the experience. We have experience matrix which are required on the ship. Has to be, some charters तो बोलते हैं कि हमको जो master चाहिए हमको 36 महीना का experience होना चाहिए. मास्टर और चीफ ऑफिसर मिला के हमको 36 महीने का एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए. सो दिस मास्टर एडिशनल मास्टर वाला एक्सपीरियंस वी एडेड टू दैट मास्टर वाला एक्सपीरियंस व्हेन ही सेल्फ. अगर मान लो 30 मंथ ही है एंड वी टेल जो एडिशनल मास्टर उसको भी ऐड कर दो, सो उसको 36 हो जाएगा, समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो फॉर दैट पर्पस वी यूज. अदरवाइज
ऐसे होंगे ना जहाज में मास्टर के साथ ही एडिशनल मास्टर होता होगा ना, कि अकेले भी भेज सकते हो उसको एडिशनल मास्टर बनके.
No. You cannot have additional master and you will not have master, but you can have additional master. ऐसा नहीं होता. Master will be there. Additional master he will not do anything specifically. ऐसा नहीं कि एक chief officer भी होगा, एक additional master भी होगा, ऐसा भी नहीं होगा.
अच्छा, okay.
The chief officer only is named as additional master. That's it.
Okay, got it.
For one ship, only one master allowed, right?
Yeah.
What is the deck rating, engine ratings, and bosun? Can you just explain me again on that?
The bosun is basically मुखिया है. जो ratings are basically who are क्या बोलते हैं नीचे जो blue collar job बोलते हैं ना, वो वाले हैं शिप पे. ये जो ऑफिसर्स हैं, ये जो चीफ ऑफिसर, सेकंड ऑफिसर, थर्ड ऑफिसर, चीफ इंजीनियर, ये सब व्हाइट कॉलर वाले पब्लिक, ठीक है, जो काम पे डेस्क पे काम करके बैठ के करते, मतलब ये लोग करते नहीं है, बट बेसिकली फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग दे आर ऑल व्हाइट कॉलर पीपल। एंड ये जो डेकोरेटिंग है, ये लोग जो चिपिंग, पेंटिंग, मेंटेनेंस करते हैं, वो वाले लोग।
So basically what we are going to do now is I'm going to cover the ship management organization. You know, what is required for operating this ship. This is a ship, okay? You can see the ship, and this ship, what are the departments we have in the ship management organization to actually operate the ship. Okay, so basically it is not that कि एक बंदा आ गया और बोलते ठीक है हम जहाज चलाते हैं. So what are the requirements to operate a single ship is what we are going to see in this presentation, okay? So basically the first department is the technical department. Technical department is the most important department where they are in charge of the machinery part of the ship. Okay, the engine room and mostly the whole operations. Machinery kidhar bhi aata hai because there are machinery on the deck also. There are mooring winches which is required for tying the ship to the port. There are machineries which are required for the cargo operation, machinery which are required for firefighting, machinery which are required for life-saving appliances. There are so many machinery on the ship. So they are basically mechanics of the ship. Okay, so they look after maintaining of all the machineries on board, majorly in the engine room, because engine room has the maximum amount of machineries on the ship. Okay, so the technical department is the first department which is very important, and they also ensure it is not only the maintenance, they also ensure they have sufficient spares for repair, and they also ensure they have proper fuel on the ship. They ensure engineers say they from the ship they get all the information of how many fuel is there, how much fuel is there, what are the next port, how much fuel you need, whether it is sufficient. All those things related to the engine machinery, the ship's movement, and all the machinery spare parts and stores are all maintained by this technical department. Okay, the purchase department is a support team to the technical department. Okay, they ensure all the supplies and stores, spares, everything which are required by the technical department, which are required to be supplied to the ship, or the inputs are got from the technical department. The technical superintendent is in charge of the vessel. He has a purchaser under him. So he will inform the purchaser, boss, मेरे को ये जहाज पे जाना है, ये spares जहाज पे भेजना है, these are all the stores we need to supply. Then the purchaser, his responsibility to ensure he sources the spare stores which are required and then connect to the ship. The second department is the QHSE department. Yeah, you're able to see, I think I have written it here. Well, QHSE is basically the quality, health, safety and environmental management department. So basically क्या होता है कि all the ships are managed something which is managed by something called the ship safety management system. It is something called you can call it as like operational manual of any equipment. If you buy a washing machine, they will give you a instruction manual, right? So the QHSE department is in charge of the instruction manual for the ship. Okay, instruction manual in the sense it is not the operational instruction manual of the equipment. For example, machinery कैसे चलाने का वो नहीं लिखा होगा उसमें. The operation, the procedure wise, how the ship has to be operated was written in the QHSE manual बोलते हैं और safety management system manual बोलते हैं. Okay, the instruction booklet for the machinery will be there with the engineers, which are called the instruction manual, which is be there with the engineers. They are maintaining this. QHSE department is in charge of how to operate the ship. Okay, they are in charge of looking at the safety aspect. They are looking after the quality aspect. They are in charge of the environmental protection. Ki, matlab, we are not doing a lot of pollution. What our pollutions are controlled. So they have lot of matrices which need to be maintained by the ship. अगर हम लोग garbage dispose कर रहे हैं तो कैसे garbage dispose कर रहे हैं, and what are the amount of garbage disposed. So we have something called the garbage record book for that. So the QHSE department monitors the garbage record book, how much the garbage is being discharged, are they following the requirement. garbage का जो disposal है उसके लिए अलग rules and regulations है which come under the Marine Pollution Convention. Okay, we will not go deep into the conventions. We will just see there is a book which is a convention which gives us rules for how to operate the ship, and QHSE department ensures our books are made in line with the international regulations so that our ship complies with all the international regulations. Okay, uska QHSE department ka ye role. And they also assist in vessels audit, inspection, वो सब करते रहता है. Okay, so that is the QHSE department ka role: audits and inspections and maintaining the safety management system of the vessel. That is the QHSE department's role. Third department is the marine operations. Okay, marine operations is basically the deck side operation. जैसे हमने technical department में बोला जो technical superintendent हर चीज के लिए इंचार्ज है, something similar for the deck side is what the marine operations is. For example, the vessel is going from A to B. Then the passage plan has to be made, how the ship is going to go. So the passage plan comes to the marine operations department. They check whether it is correct. They communicate with the charterers कि ये वाला position है, ये वाला रास्ता है, this what the vessel is going to follow. You have any charterers instruction specifically. So जो charterers instruction है, that is taken by the marine operations department and it is given to the ship to ensure the charterers requirement are all complied with, because charterers are the owners of the cargo. Okay, so owners, they are ship owners, managers, technical managers, they manage the ship, and charterers are basically the cargo owners who give cargo to the ship. Okay, so marine operations department is the person who is connection between the ship and the charterers and ship and the cargo owners. So they are the link, and they also ensure the ship is operated as per the charter's requirement. That is the main purpose of the marine operations department. Okay. Then we have the commercial department. Commercial department is basically the chartering team. Charterers are the cargo owners. Okay, the owners will have a commercial team. Their business is to get business for the ship. Okay, they will ensure they have the best charter available. They ensure they have the best charter rates available. So the department which ensures all the commercial activities are taken care, that is of the commercial department. They are mostly master mariners, or it is also possible that nowadays even MBAs come into the commercial department. They train and then get trained and they become part of the commercial department. Commercial department maybe there are two parts. One is the pre-fixture, second is the post-fixture. Fixture is basically fixing of the charter. Fixing of the charter is called the fixture. Okay, उसमें क्या होता है fixing क्या होता है, मतलब there is something called the charter party. Charter party is a document which is signed between the ship owner and the ship charter. Okay, अगर ये ship charter party sign हो गया, that means the ship is fixed. Okay, then it comes post fixture. पोस्ट फिक्सचर में कमर्शियल वो लोग देखते हैं कि बस तुम्हारा जो हमने बोला था मैं शिप को मेंटेन करना है, स्पीड इतना, वो स्पीड मेंटेन कर रहा है क्या, ये इतना कार्गो का ये क्वालिटी होना चाहिए, वो वाला क्वालिटी मेंटेन कर रहा है क्या. ऑल दोस थिंग्स आर टेकन केयर बाय द पोस्ट फिक्सचर पर्सनल. दे आर आल्सो कॉल्ड वॉयज मैनेजर्स. ओके, वॉयज मैनेजर्स यही काम करते हैं. एक बार कार्गो फिक्स हो गया, जहाज पे लोड कर रहा है, तो वॉयज ठीक ठाक से हो रहा है क्या, वी आर नॉट हैविंग एनी कार्गो लॉस, वी आर नॉट डिविएटिंग. Because the charter party is very very strict, it informs that अगर तुमने इतना deviate किया तो तुम charter पैसा मैं नहीं दूंगा, अगर ये करोगे तो मैं पैसा नहीं दूंगा. So the commercial team has to be on their toes and ensure the ship exactly follows what are the charter party requirements as per the commercial terms, which is taken care by the commercial department. Okay, till now we have seen these 4 departments are required for operating the. Next department comes the purchase. Purchase, I told you, they are in line, in conjunction, very close coordination with the technical department. Okay, they purchase all the ship spares, they purchase all the ship stores, provision जो खाना पीना है, they are all done by the purchase department. Okay, so they work very closely with the technical department, and they work under the guidance of the technical superintendent for that ship. Usually the purchase department is handles maybe 5 to 6 ships. In some companies even 8 to 9 ships are maintained. It all depends to company how much ships a purchaser manages. Similarly, technical superintendent, some companies they maintain 3 ships, some companies they maintain 6 ships. Okay, 5 to 6 ships is the maximum a technical superintendent can manage. Marine superintendent can manage around 10 to 11 ships. Basically, again, it depends from company to company. Marine superintendents usually maintain 5 to 6 ships per marine superintendent. QHSE department, it's a huge department in its own. They don't have ship-wise per se, but they are a department who manages the whole fleet, whatever is there. So based on the requirement of the fleet, the number of people in the department are decided. Commercial department again depends on the load, what is the amount of number of ships they have. Then the commercial department strength depends on what kind of cargo, what kind of voyages they are required, what kind of size of the ship. All these things decide the strength of the commercial department. Crewing department, again, crewing department ensures the crew is properly trained, properly recruited as per the requirement. They are maintaining the matrix. Their the selection criteria is strictly maintained. They are medically fit. All the trainings required before the join are all done. All those things are ensured, and all the seafarers are relieved on time. That is the most important criteria which the crew department has to manage. In the COVID, they had a lot of problems in signing of the crew and all. So these people are in charge of the crewing of the vessel. So properly they have to be managed. In case of emergency, they have to relieve seafarers before contract, and all those things they have to manage. The contracts, how the salaries are paid, all these things are mainly managed by the crewing department. Training. Again, training department works very closely with the crewing department and the technical department and the marine department. Okay, all the inputs come from these 3 departments of what training the seafarers require. Okay, these are all coming from the inputs from the ship, what accidents happen, what incidents happen, where people are feeling, because the marine operations people go on the ship for vetting the ships. Okay, and the QHSE department goes on board and audits the ships and all. And technical department is continuously in touch with the vessels. So they exactly know what is the condition of the vessel, what kind of crew are on board, what kind of training they are lacking, what kind of places where they are making mistakes again and again. So all those inputs come to the training department, and the training department gives the value-added training. Value-added training, again, training is again 2 types of training. One is the mandatory training, and second is the value-added training. Mandatory training is as per the STCW convention. This is the standard of training and certification of watchkeepers. That convention tells what training needs to be mandatorily done by all the seafarers joining different kinds of ships. So that training is all done by the seafarers on themselves. These value-added training are basically over and above what the mandatory requirement, that is taken care by this training department. Okay, again, you will have training superintendents, you will have training support staff, all those things will be there in the training department. Then you have a legal department. Legal department usually is there in big companies. Small companies do not have a specific legal department per se, but bigger organizations, because there can be a lot of, because they have a commercial department, they can have cargo claims, they can have crew issues, they can have crew injuries, they can have crew deaths, and some crew can put complaint that I have not been paid salary, all those things. A lot of complaints come. So they have maintain a legal department. Also, it is not only for the complaints and the grievances or the charter party disputes which can come. They are also having they have to do a lot of legal work in kinds of signing agreements with various vendors, with a lot of suppliers. They have a lot of cargo owners and charter parties. All those things are taken care by the legal department. They are basically lawyers. They know exactly what is the word. All the agreements hote hain, they are all worded in such a way that normal layman cannot understand all the terms and conditions. It is possible that we might sign a document which has a clause which we should not have agreed to. So the legal department know all those details, and they will ensure the agreements are signed properly, and the clauses which are mentioned in the agreements are not against them. Okay, then you have the accounts department. Accounts, again, you have the payment to the vendors, payment to the salary, payment of salaries to the crew. All those things are taken care by the accounts department. Again, you have account manager, account executive, account staff. You have those staff in the office. IT, again, IT is a very important department where nowadays, you have a vessel IT also. It is not only the office IT where they take care of administration of office laptops, desktops and the conference room, etc. Lot of IT is now shifting to the ship also. You have a lot of computers, a lot of networking. So this department also communicates with the vessel and they ensure all the IT systems on the ship also operate properly. Okay, I think that's it. So these are the departments which are required to operate a ship. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 departments are there, which actually which are required for a single ship. If we have to operate, these are the departments we should have. Okay, this is only the ship management what we have seen. We can also have, we can have for the port operations, we can have for chartering, we can have various, whatever is there, you will have, every department can have a big hierarchy and the departments which are there. So this is only the ship management part I have covered in this. Yeah.
Usually on ship, do we have an IT person? Like we have a lot of computers installed on the ship. What if something goes wrong?
It's all shore support. There is nobody on the ship who are actually well versed with the IT on the ship.
Do you think it is required? Suppose if anything goes wrong, like system stuck to fail, does not work. Do we have any?
Aage jaake, I think there will be somebody. There is a rank called the electrical officer, no?
Yeah.
Now the electrical officer is now presently termed as electro-technical officer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So he is present. Pehle kya hota tha? He did not have any COC or anything. Now they have mandated as COC for him also. Okay. So maybe aage jaake his curriculum will have all this IT stuff also. Maybe he will be the person who will be designated as an IT person who can handle, because पहले ज़माने में क्या होता था, all this electrical stuff were all mechanical. Right. Now it is all digital and it is all PCB. You will have all circuit boards, everything is there. So we are fast moving from all those mechanical things to all electronic things. So that completes my presentation. So if I can take questions, सब लोग को भूख नहीं लगी है तो, and
yeah, what as even somebody else also asked, like what is the chartering and manning that mechanic?
See, manning is basically the crewing department I told you, which is in the management of the ship. So crewing department is also called the manning department, where they are in charge of placing qualified seafarers on the ship based on the requirements. Okay, they have to have proper certification, they have to have proper experience, vessel type experience and the rank experience. Both experience are counted, and they have to have proper training which is required for the ship. And they have a planner, and they have to ensure all the crew who are going, they are on contracts. They go on 4 months contract, 6 months contract, 9 months contract. So the crew department is responsible to ensure they are signed off based on their contract. So this is the responsibility of the crewing department per se. And the chartering, again, as I told you, this is the commercial department. It is there are chartering. There are 3 different kinds. There are the charterers who are the cargo owners. Second, there are something called the brokers. The ship owners don't directly talk to the charterers, cargo owners. They go through somebody called the brokers. They are the chartering company bolte hai na, you would have heard of chartering company. So basically they are brokers who deal, they have the list of ships which want cargo, and they have list of cargo owners who have cargo. So unka kaam hai ki ye donon ko mila ke they will get the charter party signed. So that is their charter brokers. And the commercial department in the ship owner company will be, they will ensure they are talking to the brokers and ensuring the ship is never idle. उनका ship, उनका जब एक दिन भी ship idle है तो उनका 40,000 80,000 का loss हो गया US dollars का. So the commercial department ensures they talk to different brokers, they check with different owners where they can maximize the usage of the vessel. So that is the department which is there in the commercial. So commercial ka they have 3 different kinds of departments you have.
Captain, I just need to ask one thing. We are providing IT people to the organization marine industry. Okay, so when we talk about this software developers, when we are providing it to the organization marine industry, what is their work as a developer? Because we are taking all the candidates from we are taking all the candidates from very bigger organizations such as CCS or Essence or something like that, and we are providing it to the organization. I mean, to the marine organization. So what they basically do, because so many candidates ask these questions to us, so it's very difficult to explain them what basically their work into the organization. We are having the mandate proper JD, but still we need to explain it to them. So can you just elaborate me on this part?
Basically, as I told you, everybody is switching to digitalization. Okay, and after COVID, everybody wants everything to be in the software. Even the certification which the seafarer is going to have, everything is going to be digital. We will not have any more physical certification, etc. So, ये क्या होता है कि all the companies want their own softwares now to manage their operation. Okay, like all the ship managers, like your executive ship management, you have Bernard Schulte ship management, you have fleet management. All these people have their own softwares which manage the whole company's operations. Technical, purchase, crewing, accounting, everything. They have their own software developed in-house. They have a big software team. I know about executive ship management. They have around 30 people, 30 developers sitting in Chennai and doing their development. I know about Bernard Schulte. It is Maritime is the company's name, and they have 100 developers who are sitting. And it is not only they are doing for Bernard Schulte, they are operating. They are giving softwares for other companies also. So basically, it is a software development team. You will not have much of support. Like major IT companies में क्या होता है, the product is developed, and like for example the TCS में is giving support to Axis Bank. Okay, Axis Bank का जो software है वो develop कर दिया, and any glitches are coming, there is a support team always sitting for Axis Bank giving support. But in shipping companies it will be more of a developmental job. You will develop new softwares because the company requires a lot of new softwares, and they are coming into the software now only. Every company wants their own software team. They don't want to depend on somebody else for their software. So they will have in-house operation software developed. And based on that, they can decide कि मेरे को कौन सा platform में चाहिए, what kind of softwares I need, what is the requirement, what is the server side I need. All those based on that, they will ask for developers from you.
Captain, chief officer and chief engineer, what is the basic difference? I just wanted. Many times I get confused with chief officer and chief engineer.
Yeah.
So just get to know what is the difference. Well, I know that third officer, second officer, then chief officer, then third engineer, second engineer, chief engineer, master. So just wanted to know, just on a part, so that I always do not get confused with these words.
You can see my screen.
Yeah, I can.
So here, if you see, this is the deck department. You have the engine department. Okay. On top, you have the master.
Yes.
Okay. So chief officer comes in the deck department. He is the in charge of the deck department. Okay. And engine department, chief engineer is the in charge of the engine department.
Okay, got it.
And chief officer is in charge of the cargo operation. Anything related to cargo, you have to catch hold of chief officer. Cargo loading, discharging, plan, all those things are done by the chief officer. Chief engineer is responsible for the machinery. Engine room, what is the machinery which is required, what is the reports which need to be done, how much bunker you need. Bunker is basically the fuel oil which is required for the ship. तो वो कितना चाहिए, कौन से दिन के लिए, वो planning, all those reports, paperwork, overall in charge of the engine department is chief engineer.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so these are the main difference between chief officer. He is the second in command. Chief officer is basically the second in command of the ship. If master something happens, chief officer takes over command.
Okay.
So each single ship, all these officers and engineers has to be onboarded, is it? they have to
Yes.
travel, or how is it? Like, yeah.
Yes, they have to be on the contract. There is something called the safe manning document, okay, which is published by the flag of the ship. Flag is basically where the ship is registered. Like if I have a car, I have to register in some RTO, no? Like that, all the ships in the world also have to register somewhere. Okay, so if they register, they have a registry. Okay, in that registry where they register, which country, they are called the flag of the vessel. So you would have seen, you know, if you have seen a ship, जो ship का नाम लिखा होगा और नीचे उसका एक port का नाम लिखा होगा. Like if you have seen Indian flagship, it will be Mumbai, it will be Calcutta, or you know, if you have Marshall Island, you will have Limassol. Something written. If you see any ship, you will have a ship name, and below that you will have a name of the port. So that country is called the flag of the ship. That flag issues a document which is called the safe manning document, which says कि ये जहाज में ये साइज का ये टाइप ऑफ कार्गो जो लोड करोगे तो इतना आदमी मिनिमम जहाज पे होना चाहिए at any given time. Okay. So based on that, the number of people are there. But usually, if you see, the safe manning document will have only 10, 11 people. But a normal ship cannot operate with that 11, 10, 11 people. So it is based on the experience operation requirement that company puts around 20, 25 people on the ship.
Okay.
So at any given time, so many people should be there on the ship. But it is possible that, you know, if there is an emergency, अगर मेरे को एक AB को उतारना है, then, or if I have to sign off the second officer in emergency, if he is not coming under the safe manning, I can आराम से sign him off. But if he is coming on the safe manning document, then I have to take permission from the flag. बस मैं उतर रहा हूँ, मेरे तुमने बोला था 10 लोग होना चाहिए, मेरे 10 लोग नहीं है. Because he is having some emergency or he is medically unfit, I have to sign him off. अगला port में I will connect his relief. So that the crewing department does.
Okay.
So have to
Any I mean, sorry to ask you, interrupt. I mean, only one person. Like for example, there cannot be a two chief officer or a two chief engineer or something like that. Is like no backup is there for any of the resources, right?
Yeah. Ideally, you don't have backups, but in case of operational requirement, like for example, you know, there is a ship which does. कभी-कभी क्या होता है कि there is a ship which loads from outside. The big ships come outside only. They cannot come inside. You are on a small port, so there's a small ship which goes outside, loads from the big ship and comes inside and discharges. इतना ही काम है उसका. तो मतलब loading discharging is so frequent that one single person cannot do 24-hour job. So you will have two chief officers on board, or you are having a very hectic run. So chief officer cannot, because usually क्या होता है, when the ship sails out, the chief officer also has the navigational watch while going on board, and while going the ship is sailing. There is something called the navigational watch where the ship, the chief officer has to go on the bridge and keep 4 hours, 8 hours watch. So अगर vessel is doing very hectic operations, 1-2 दिन का ही sailing है, then it is possible that there is a additional third officer or a second officer kept, so the chief officer is taken out of navigational watch, so then he can concentrate on cargo watch. So it all depends on the type of voyage the ship is in. Usually there is no backup. एक बंदा है कि उसी को काम है, because एक बंदा अगर चीफ ऑफिसर का भी सैलरी $12,000-13,000 चल रहा है, तो अगर if he has to replace that, if you have additional chief officer, then एक और $12,000-13,000 डालना पड़ेगा. So that's basically the cost to the company. So for reducing, they don't have any backup, but in case if it is required as per the voyage, they can have additional officers. There is no restriction.
Okay. So this technical superintendent and marine superintendent, they need not travel, right? They need to do all the here itself. Means as I understand that their work is before the ship moves, right? The coordination
usually technical superintendent don't travel much, but it is not. It is all company specific, you know. There are some companies where there is no marine का फंडा नहीं है, मतलब technical superintendent in charge of the vessel. So technical superintendent does both the marine part and the technical part. So in that case, he has to travel. Like for example, usually the traveling is marine superintendent. Marine superintendent travels for whenever there is a commercial related inspection, like there is a vetting. In that case, the marine superintendent travels. In case of that is the HSEQ department, superintendents travel for doing their own internal audits. उनका रेगुलर इंटरनल ऑडिट्स होता है, जहाज पे प्रोसेसेस वो सब जो एसएमएस मैंने बोला था वो सब फॉलो कर रहे हैं कि नहीं, वो सब चेक करने के लिए उनको एक्चुअली फिजिकली जाके उनको समटाइम्स द एचएससीक्यू सुपरिटेंडेंट इवन सेल्स विद द वेसल टू he observes all the processes so that he is convinced that the ship is following all the processes. So marine superintendent, technical superintendent, HSEQ superintendent, all these superintendent will have to travel.
Okay, so one more thing, when I could see that in this chart there's nowhere mentioned as a fleet safety coach or something who also travels, right? That the person who does the auditing, vetting and
Don't confuse
safety
it.
measures, right?
That's a different role.
Yeah, ये जो chart है, this is of the ship staff. जो ऑफिस स्टाफ मैंने बताया था, he is part of the HSEQ department. The fleet safety coach or somebody, no, he will be from the he will be in the HSEQ department. Every company again, it's all their own thinking of how to manage the safety. Basically फंडा है कि सेफ जहाज पे सेफ ऑपरेशन होना चाहिए, और जो एसएमएस मैनुअल है फॉलो होना चाहिए. अभी how they want to manage the number of vessels they have, how many people they have, so designations are very company specific. You can say there might be some standard DGM, GM, technical superintendent, marine superintendent हो सकता है, but otherwise it's all jigsaw puzzle what every company plays.
I have a question, Captain. When we talk about operations on onshore, what are these designation would be and how many roles can be there?
Operations in the sense?
Operations, when we talk about your mid-range operation people are there, we are providing them. So I wanted to know, operation executive as in?
So that's a different thing. See, operations in chartering also we have operations department. In marine also we have operations department. Like we have marine superintendent, they have operations superintendent who will be responsible for managing the operations of the vessel. And chartering, like as Captain said, once the vessel is fixed, so he will ensure, the operations guy will ensure that the cargo reaches to the destination. So पूरा coordination का काम उनका रहता है.
And crewing में भी operations department.
हाँ, crewing में भी operations होता है.
So if somebody tells you इनको operation executive चाहिए, then your question should be कि which department के लिए operation executive.
Okay.
Yeah.
They say that the sourcing person should have his own database. So how is that he's going to? Whenever I call all that, he says, yes, I have my own database, ma'am. So I will be eligible to go for this role. So please do consider. So how different is from the, what is database which he is talking, like he himself create, or how is that?
See, like for example, you have been speaking to so many people, right? So now if you leave Nevoskal and you go to somebody else, then you will have list of people whom you have spoken to, right? So that is the database. That's it. It's a database. You might have some numbers and names, So that is the database which every recruiter has. So it doesn't give any weightage at all, Because the whole world, whole Indian seafaring recruitment people there, they have a fixed pool of officers and ratings in India. Okay, हमको सबको उसी pond में से मच्छी पकड़ना है. So if you go to this company or that company or third company, everybody will have all the names in the same pool only. It is the recruiter makes a cut of what kind of relation he has with the seafarer. That what matters. The name and number doesn't matter at all. So the 10 lakh का भी database रखी हो, it doesn't matter. ठीक है?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, guys. Yeah.